The tactic of a narcissist for manipulation. They are persistent, they create competition, they create a challenge. You invest in time, and then you've gone into compliance. And now you're in the spider web of the narcissist. And the way they do it is through manipulation. So I took the time to study these manipulations that people use in war and interrogation, and also into the CIA, how they discover and go through these, manipulations to get the person to talk. And it's very similar to what the narcissist does. And I found it very, very interesting. So the first thing they do is they rush. They rush to know you. They rush the whole thing. And you'll notice that on the first date, you'll notice certain things like, if you're telling a story, you may be telling them a story about your children, or maybe your parents or whatever, your brothers or friends or whatever, and it's an intense story. They don't have this muscle that they use. It's the empathy muscle. So they'll basically just kind of stare at you. And normal people, when you show empathy, you kind of go like this, and you have this empathy muscle. And so the rest of their face will look like they're empathizing, but there isn't that concern muscle up there. They don't use that. And so that's one of the clues right there. Have a coldness in their eyes, and it's disconnected from the rest of their body language. And you'll notice that they're not really into the story. It may look like it with their body language, but they're not. There's this coldness in their eye, almost like they're not paying attention to what you're saying. And so there's one of them. They may criticize you in a very light way, and it might kind of throw you off a little bit and kind of like, what? Did I hear that right? But then they'll satisfy you with a smoothing, response to where they look like they really care, and they'll pull back on it. So it's really weird the way, but it's a manipulation to get you to trust them. So the other thing they do, they create a competition. So when they create this competition, and it's right from the get go, they'll tell you kind of bragging about themselves, and you'll go, oh, well, I've done that too. And then they'll go, well, yeah, but I did it much better. Or it'll be even more bigger than what you've ever done, or been a bigger place that you've ever been, or something. There's always a competition in there. And it's part of a manipulation. So you feel the need to actually compete with this person that you don't even know. Um, and then in the meantime, they're still rushing, and they're texting you good morning every day, and how are you, wanting to get together all the time. They'll come up with some really, really big stories about their past, maybe. And most of the time it's a lie, or it's just overly done, it's exaggerated. And if you notice, it'll be in like a correct order. And so they'll say, "Yeah, we got into the truck, we went to the concert, then I went and I got us beers, and then I came back, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened." And then you go, "Oh, wait a minute, I missed that. So what happened before you got before you're at the concert, and then what happened before that?" And they can't go backwards with the same story. And that's part of knowing that they're lying. There's a lot of other ways of knowing it, so, and then they'll create this challenge for you to invest time. So, and this happens from the beginning, and I don't know if everybody notices this or not, but so they're texting you all the time and wanting to get together and calling you and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden you'll text them one day, and then they won't text you back. And you might not even be all that invested at this point, but then they don't text you back, and then you start finding this need. So they create a need for you wanting to invest time in them. And so then they might text back like within 7 hours or the next morning or whatever. And then it's kind of like a relief, like, oh, yes, they're into me. And then you actually try harder to go after them a little bit. And that's what they want you to do, because once you've done that, they know that they have got you, and now we're going into compliance. So that's one thing. And the other thing you can do right from the get go is you can do what they call a baked question. And you can even form it as a friend, tell them about a friend. and say something like, oh, my friend was really into a really bad situation with an abusive man, and I cannot believe the things she had to do get out and the stuff that she had to go through. What do you think should happen to that person, to the man? And see what they say. If it's something light, like, well, she should just probably just ignore him and stay away from him, versus that person should rot in hell, like we would say, that's probably a narcissist because they know what they've done. And they're thinking about, well, shoot, I'd be punished like that too. So they go into that, and that's a proven deal through the military. And I was like, wow, I've never even thought about that. So I thought that was kind of a cool one. Okay, so the other thing you can do when you first meet a person, you can ask questions with a so or I bet statement. So no provoking statements or nothing really, but it's be kind of like, you know, they'll be telling you a story and you go, "Oh, I bet that was rough on you." And then they'll find the need to give you more information. So that's all it is. And they'll get into more depth to where they wouldn't have done that before. And that's actually a manipulation that one of the narcissists use. You're just using it back on them. So that's one thing. And when somebody says that to you, if you don't want to give them any more information that you have, because you shouldn't, then don't. Just kind of blow it off or act like you didn't hear it. That would be always good. Okay, you can also use disbelief statements like, no way, that didn't happen. And they'll go into more depth about what happened, and you'll find out a lot more information right away on how they behave, faster than you would in 6 months if you use these statements. Okay, so they have the need to connect with a word trigger. And so during the course of time, they use these little triggers of words that are out of statements or maybe out of stories that you've told them. And that would be a need to connect. So then you have this need to connect with them because it's a little trigger in your head. You've heard it, you've said it, and then it'll take you back to that story, and that's actually a way of getting your trust. So now they've gotten your trust, and now you're completely convinced that this is the person for you. And so now they go into these punishments, and it's all fear based, and they do it very slowly. So they use abandonment, humiliation, they mock you, and they withhold things from you, and that's basics of their punishments, and they do it well, by the way. And it's all governed by fear, which is rages, silent treatments, and that type of thing. And so this, what happens is you become smaller because now you feel shameful, and you feel alone, and you've been alone in this whole relationship the whole time, you just didn't know it. And so you figure that out later, but yeah, you're like, wow, it was just me, I was the only one in this relationship, this person wasn't there, they were there when they wanted to be. So if you do all that, and you're understanding that now you're walking on eggshells, you're afraid they're going to leave, they're afraid they're going to humiliate you with a huge criticism, either in front of people or not, or they're going to mock you and make fun of you. And they do that pretty childish, by the way, they're very childish people. And then, or withhold something that you want. Maybe you're going on that vacation, and all of a sudden they say, well, I don't think you should go on this vacation, so I'm just going to go by myself, or I'm going to go take my buddy. Or they just leave you and go. And that's happened. These people are not very nice, but those are all manipulations that happens to come out in the end of, now you're in this horrible fog, and you're in this trauma bond, and that's what it does. And they do it all on purpose. It's all calculated in a narcissist. They've been doing it for so long and have become so versatile at that, between people and their personalities, that it's almost sick. So anyway, those are some really early signs, and then in the middle signs that that you're with a narcissist if you didn't catch on really early in the love bomb stage. But I hope all this helps people not to be so fearful to get out there back on the horse, because now you know what you're looking for and you know how to play it. And if you're going to play the game back, which a lot of us fall into that, then you know exactly what they're doing at any given moment and you know when to walk away. The earlier, the better. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.